Happy Thursday, Brian Manning here with the weekly update. Let's get right to it. So, first, we're going to go back to last week on Friday. So, the first week of every month, we get jobs reports. So, the first Friday of every month, we get the BLS report. That stands for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is an important report because the Federal Reserve is looking at this and they're making decisions on what's happening economically as far as employment and unemployment. And this is definitely what goes into part of their decision making in regards to future rate cuts. So, BLS report. Expectation, this is for the month of March. There was an expectation that 200,000 jobs would be created in the month of March. Instead, we got 303,000 new jobs created. So it's definitely a very strong report, as a blockbuster report. But if we tear it apart, there's a couple things in here. So multiple job holders make up 217,000 of this. And then we also had part-time jobs in there that were increasing as well. And part-time jobs count into this report. The thing is that if you look at the age group that really comprises this report. The first is the age group of 16 to 23, and the second is the age group of 55 plus. So with part-time jobs being counted into this number, it really makes you question the strength of the employment report because you have 300,003 new jobs created, but a tremendous amount came from part-time jobs. Potentially, it's not as strong of a report that was expected or that was released. Then we look at the unemployment. Unemployment moved from 3.9% down to 3.8%. That's really important because Federal Reserve is watching unemployment. If the unemployment rate increases, that would be a catalyst for rate cuts in the future. Then this week, Monday, Tuesday, relatively quiet news days. Wednesday, though, we get the CPI reading. So Wednesday, we got CPI, stands for Consumer Price Index. Let's just take a look at what happened here. So this is for the month of March. This is really important for us to pay attention to because the Federal Reserve has two mandates. One is price stability, so they're focused on inflation with price stability. The second mandate is full employment in the U.S. economy. So they want to see inflation moving lower. Even though we look at CPI, they look at another inflation report that comes out later in the month. It's called the PCE report, but CPI kind of leads the way into PCE. So this is super important for us to pay attention to. So the headline number, which is all in inflation, moved from 3.2% up to 3.5%. So that was increasing. And then the core rate, which excludes volatile items such as food and energy, the core rate remained unchanged at 3.8%. So let's look at the report and kind of figure out where it all came from, because I think it's super important. So shelter makes up 45% of this report. So shelter looks at rent, owner's equivalent of rent, lodging away from home, etc. And shelter was unchanged at 5.7%. What's important is that if you have the core rate that went up 0.359%, 0.2 of this component alone was just shelter costs. Then we look at motor vehicle insurance. Motor vehicle insurance is up 22% per year. Motor vehicle insurance was up 0.1%. So of the 0.359% increase that we had in the core rate of inflation, 0.3 of that was just shelter cost and motor vehicle insurance. I've said this before, no matter how much the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates, you're not going to impact 22% increase in motor vehicle insurance. It doesn't have an impact here. The other part is 45% of this being made up of shelter costs. If you look into the marketplace, the true shelter costs, if you look at apartment lists, you see shelter costs lower, but this report has a lagging effect in it. So unfortunately, we're seeing higher inflation numbers in the report. But if you look into the marketplace, you're really not seeing the same high inflation numbers as far as shelter is concerned. Then we look at the headline number. Headline number increased. The culprits in the headline number were gasoline. That's up because you see costs of oil increasing and then food costs going up as well. I still say oil costs, fuel costs, again, no matter how much you hike interest rates, you're never going to impact what people are paying at the pump. You're never going to impact the costs that we're seeing there as well. So, with that said, thinking about the Federal Reserve hiking or lowering interest rates, for them to really want to lower interest rates, they're going to want to see continual move lower in inflation and kind of have seen a stall in here right now. And probably for the rest of the year, just based on how the data points work, it's probably going to be very difficult to make meaningful moves in inflation going forward. So what that means for the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates is for them to cut rates, they probably are going to have to see something happen economically. They definitely are going to have to see a higher unemployment rate. They're going to have to see something catastrophic happen economically, recessionary pressures, etc. But if we're just looking at inflation and we're just trying to figure out when the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates on inflation alone, right now I would tell you I couldn't see it in the foreseeable future. I'm not even sure if you'd see it this year, even by the end of the year, because inflation is just not moving in the right direction for everything that I just outlined. So we'll have to keep an eye on unemployment. I truly think unemployment will start to show some weakness, unfortunately, in the future. And they've kind of said that their cap of unemployment is like that 4.1, 4.2%. So if we do see unemployment move higher, that's really going to be the culprit or the instigator for them to look at lowering rates. But right now, I have to tell you that I don't see it in the future. Today, Thursday, relatively quiet news day so far. Not a lot to talk about there. We'll reconvene next week, see where we're at. I'm around all weekend. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to learn how we're closing purchase transactions in 10 days, give me a call. Realtors, we have a great series of events coming up. It's winning the buyer presentation, taking advantage of the NAR settlement. If you're a realtor, keep an eye out for these. It's going to be a lot of great content for you to really help you with your buyer presentation. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk with you soon.